Take your team to new heights with training you can trust from CBTC. Unlock your team's potential with affordable seminars and customized training in topics like leadership, safety, manufacturing, transportation, and technology. CBTC is more than a provider. We are your partner for talent upskilling, licensure renewal, recertification, and much more. Discover the impacts that come with our training, from heightened productivity to enhanced teamwork and a commitment to a safer workplace. Visit cbtc.edu/workforce solutions to get started today.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Pablo Center podcast, Beyond the Stage, where I talk about all things Pablo Center, things that are happening on our stage, behind the stage with our STEAM programs, and all the things that happen in our community downtown. My name is Kathy Wright, and I'm the Director of Talent and Booking here at the Pablo Center. Today, I am really excited because two of my favorite humans are joining me, and they love music and moments in time as much as I do. There might be some crying, I'm not sure. But I'm excited to welcome my friend Michael Strubel and Nick White to the podcast today. Hi, guys.
Hello, Kathy. Honored to be here.
This will be hilarious because we all talk more than each other, so I don't even know like how we're gonna fit this in 30 minutes. But anyway, I was sitting back and thinking about what's our podcast topic for this session, and I always come back to the two of you because you have a passion and a love of live music like no one I've ever seen before. And I think that the interesting thing I've discovered over the last few years about myself is that I don't necessarily love to listen to live. I love to produce live. So for me, I want to be behind the scenes. I want to be making sure everything's happening so that I can look out in the audience and see my friends and people just having this moment with whatever's happening in the room. And you're two of my favorite people to watch. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Michael, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about your love of music.
All right. Well, love of music, I think, was born from my mom. My mom was a music fanatic. Hers was mostly Pavarotti, oldies, but we always had music going on around the house. And she also was the catalyst for me as a musician. Came up here to Eau Claire originally as a music education major, so I'm a brass guy. I'm a band nerd. That's my origin story, and that has just I determined. I think it was my second or third semester of music theory when it started becoming like a math problem to solve what a Hungarian fourth chord was. Like that I was like, you know what? Music's a good hobby. Music does not have to be my profession.
I want to be clear.
Yeah. There's no math in music. Like there's no crying in baseball. And so that was I don't know. I think my mom may have said it to me that was like, music can always be a hobby. It can be a big part of your life, whether that's singing karaoke or going to live shows or getting involved behind the scenes. You don't have to be working as a professional in music to have profound experiences with it. So that's sort of my take on music. I mean, I just love it in all forms. And the best way for me to get what I need is to go to live performances. It's like a recharge.
I love that. I love it. Wow, you couldn't even have scripted that.
I didn't write that down.
I know, you
either.
didn't even. I'm like, I didn't prep you guys at all. Nick, how about you? When did you just decide you needed to be in a room where music was happening?
I mean, it was more in high school. I mean, I grew up, parents put us all in piano lessons. I played the trumpet in band and pep band. But high school is really where the live music scene hit for me. I remember being at North High School at Battle of the Bands with Ponch and the Vandals, Day Old Bread, Slad Napkin, and Mount Vernon playing.
Oh, my gosh.
The thing I loved about it, though, is you had the jocks, you had the nerds, you had the choir geeks, the music. Like, everyone was there as a community, different walks of life, listening to live music, bonding over that one thing.
I think there's a time when you can look out at an audience and hear everybody singing along and having that moment, and it's incredible. And obviously I've been fortunate enough to make a career out of watching those moments happen. It used to be 3 days a year. Now it's about 200 days a year, which makes it even more fun. But again, I just think it's super, super powerful. And I think about the two of you for two different reasons, and we'll talk about both. But, Michael will talk about your year 50 challenge you gave yourself. And Nick, I think what strikes me about you as a music lover is that you're always you're always out enjoying music. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I walk into a room and there's live music, I just like, where's Nick? He's here. I know he is. And it doesn't matter what the genre is. You're in the room and you're enjoying it. So that's what I love about the both of you. So, Michael, I want to tell us about your year 50. And I just called out your age. But tell us about your year 50 challenge that you gave yourself and what that did for you.
Yeah, well, it was inspired by a friend who did a 50 things to accomplish list by the time she turned 50. And I was talking to my wife, Tracy, and I kind of said, like, what is something I could do that would be a bit of a challenge, but fill my cup and be enjoyable from 49 to 50. So on my 49th birthday, I decided I'm going to do 50 live music events over the course of the next 365 days. I define that not as 50 bands, because, for example, I went to Country Jam, I went to Country Fest, I went to a festival in Louisville called Bourbon and Beyond. In a given day, I may have seen anywhere from 3 to 10 or more acts. And if I had counted that as an individual point towards my 50, I could have done that in a week. So each day counted as one. So what it ended up doing for me was forcing me out of my comfort zone a little bit to check out genres and performers that I probably wouldn't have checked out otherwise. For example, Kendrick Lamar and SZA at US Bank Stadium. You know, I wouldn't have gone to a Kendrick Lamar show.
Did one of your daughters drag you to that?
They did.
Okay, good.
Under the guise that there were tickets available immediately next door to them. And in fact, I was a row ahead sitting next to strangers. But Kathy, you know,
there are no strangers to Michael Strubel.
It was a mother and her 11-year-old daughter, and this was a birthday present. And so we got to know each other and danced. And it was an amazing experience. Again, for me, it's as much about the ambiance, what I'm doing there, who I'm with, as it is for the performance as well. Obviously, I love music, but going with my two daughters and my now future son-in-law.
Woo, Michael's getting a boy.
Recent news. I'm getting my boy. We had a great experience. That's memories. I can't trade that for anything. But yeah, it was on a Tuesday night going to the Plus to check out the big band, where normally on a Tuesday night I might ride the stationary bike for 30 minutes and then, eat trail mix as I watch The Voice or whatever, So got me out of the house doing things that I normally wouldn't do. And that was the goal, and seeing and absorbing as much music as possible. Emphasis on the diversity, because thinking of like the US Bank Kendrick Lamar show, obviously expensive trip over to the cities, big venue, thousands of people, versus going to Two Roots for the first time to see a band with resonator guitars and wondering, like, what are those? Are those jazz guitars? I don't know what that is. And they do a cover tune from like a song I haven't heard since like high school. And, I'm just chatting with some strangers, just to find out more about the band. I just loved that part of it more than anything. And then bringing people along too. I would certainly go alone. One of my favorite memories was one of Sue Orfield's bands was playing at the Plus, and I sat at the bar for a minute and talked to the bartender a little bit. He forced a shot of Malort on me, and then 5 minutes later, he's up doing a Chris Stapleton tune with the band, and I'm just like, this is
Excuse me, what just happened?
Yeah. And that's Eau Claire too. I'm super thankful here that the diversity of offerings we have. My daughter lives in La Crosse, and they don't have it down there. When I visit, I look for live music, and it's rare on a Wednesday. But here, you can find a couple offerings.
Which is so interesting because they have the beloved arena, right?
Yes.
La Crosse has the La Crosse Center where concerts and big things can happen. And Eau Claire's always been lacking that. So I often wonder if that was kind of the creation. I call it the Eau Claire Underground. And we'll talk about the Eau Claire Underground. But, there is this live music that all you have to do is look up. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is look up, and it's happening. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like walking down Broadway in Nashville. There is just live music happening inside every door of our community, and specifically downtown, obviously. But as you move around, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And Nick, your love of live, where did that come from?
I'm not really sure. Just being around folks in high school and in college, just showing up I knew some people in the band, so I'd show up to support them at the Stones Throw, at the House of Rock, and just made connections with other people that are there to see the same music that I was. So ever since then, I've tried to catch as much live music as humanly possible. And you talked about the diversity. I remember being at the Pablo Center for a show by Humbird, and that ended, and I walked across the street for Ramon Collin, Sean Carey, and Mike Lewis for a house show. Friday night, I was here for Chris Cruzy. I left a few songs over to go over to Leona's for another show. The live music scene here in Eau Claire is awesome.
It is awesome. And I think what's so interesting is especially, those of us of a certain age that have been in this town for a long time. Fair to say when we graduated from college, we said there was nothing to do in Eau Claire, right? Like it was the mid 90s, maybe the late 90s for you guys. And there was just nothing to do in Eau Claire. And so we trained our bodies. We have to go to Minneapolis to do something cool. And now, again, you just have to look up. It's happening everywhere that we look around here. And so people are moving to this community. It's becoming an economic driver that we are a hub of music, and it started with festivals, right? We have Hoofbeat, we have Rockfest. Now we have, what's the alien one?
Force
Fields,
which is mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. I saw some video. I'm not sure I can recover from it. We've got Country Jam. Now we have Summer Jam. We've got, it started in the Roots with Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Eau Claire's is coming back. And that's just like within 20 minutes of us. And, when I talk to promoters around the country and they're like, oh, we want to bring a show in the summer. I'm like, nope, we're not even considering it. And they're a little shocked. And I'm like, here's what we're up against. And the one guy's like, what? I mean, I remember a Saturday night in 2007, your choices in Eau Claire, Wisconsin were Kiss or Bon Jovi. Which would you like to see in a city of 65,000 in a 20-minute radius, right? So live music, the bigs have always been, what we focused on and what the attention's been drawn to, but it's created this incredible music scene that happens on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. And for me, I think that's it as well. Like we all have this core moment that we remember as a child when music took us somewhere else. And for me, it's kind of funny, but my dad took me to see John Denver at the Riverside in Milwaukee. And I remember hearing John Denver live for the first time and crying. It was, I was in maybe 8th grade, and to hear him live and the beauty of his music. And I was like, this is awesome. And I want to do this. I also thought I wanted to be a social worker. That didn't work out well for me.
No ballerina?
No. Oh God, no. I was clumsy enough on a volleyball court. You don't want to see me dancing. But I think that, we go back to exposure. And one thing I think is so cool about Eau Claire, and I'm kind of batting this around because I sent you guys both homework last night, which was kind of a jerk move. Sorry about that.
Great article.
It was a great article, though. So this article came out in a publication in the Twin Cities Business Times, I think, and it talked about what happened to live music in Minneapolis. And I think for the first time ever, the fact that we're behind helps. So Minneapolis had this incredible, robust, it's First Avenue, 2nd Street entry. Is that what it's called? 2nd Street entry? 7th Street entry, the Fine Line. I mean, these small rooms that defined music. We always talk about Prince and what he did in that Minneapolis music scene. And now the behemoth of Live Nation and the corporate takeover of music. And quite honestly, this enormous business of massive stadium shows. I just looked. Do you know how much tickets are for Bruce Springsteen to sit in the nosebleeds? $317.
I believe it, and that's
not secondary market.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that too. There's a new venue in Milwaukee. It's a credit union indoor arena in the Bucks area, and it's owned by Live Nation. And one of my favorite bands, Tedeschi Trucks Band, is playing there, and I really want to go. And the entry level price for a seat is $150, which isn't $500, $300. But
it's not Bruce Springsteen.
It's not Bruce Springsteen, and it's one show, $150. I remember struggling when I was a college student. Pink Floyd played at Camp Randall, and my friend called me at like 7 a.m, and I'm laying in my bed in Putnam Hall, and it was a $35 ticket to go to Pink Floyd, and I was like, where am I going to come up with that? And I said, yeah, and thank God I did. But that was 1994 or 5, and now we're 30 years later. And it's $150. That's more than inflation, right?
Yeah, that's way more
ridiculous.
Than inflation.
It's
ridiculous. I paid
$22
to see the U2, the Octung Baby tour in 1982 in Minneapolis. But
I think to me that only emphasizes the music scene that we have
Preach,
here.
brother, preach.
I remember being at Leona's about 2-3 months ago. Kathy, we talked about this. We've got 4 musicians on stage with 8 Grammy nominations between the 4 of them, and there's 100 people in that room. A show like that in Minneapolis, it's at $100. I paid $15 for that show.
Right. And so I think that's what's so cool as we were reading this article. So what Minneapolis has lost is they've lost to the couch. Right? It's a Tuesday night, and if you lived in the Twin Cities 7 or 8 years ago or in the mid-2010s, whenever that was, on a Tuesday night you went out and you found something. But COVID changed us, right? We learned that Netflix can be really entertaining, and sometimes once I put my pajamas on, I don't want to take my pajamas off. But Eau Claire's got to wake up, because what is happening here on Tuesday nights is awesome. And we need to get up off the couch. And, Michael, I think that's why your story about your 50 to 50 was so interesting, because I've never gotten up and gone to a show and walked out and said, dang it, I wish I would have finished watching season 4 of Shameless last night. Like, never in a million years would I do that. You walk out regardless of whether you love the music or not. I dragged my husband to the Elton John tribute show here. And, I mean, you want to talk about kicking and screaming. And he walked out, he's like, that guy was really good. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a great point. I just did that last week for your 715 series show with
Yes.
Ben Moana, who had a great story about Eau Claire playing at the Acoustic Cafe in 2019, and you can find those YouTube videos very easily, by the way, and I had watched some of those in advance, so it was fun to hear him talk about that and his love for Eau Claire. But 20, 25, 30 people in the room. Mm-hmm. My daughter bailed on me at the last minute, so I actually in my head was thinking, oh, I shouldn't go. But then I was, what the heck? I can find a spot in the back. It doesn't matter if I'm there alone. I'm going for the music. I'm not going to be with somebody anyways. And it was a fantastic show, and thankfully, a friend of mine was there, and he got blown off at the last minute, too. So we were a perfect pair. His name is Nick, too. And we just remarked, we looked around the room, we're like, how are there not more people here? This guy is talented as the day is long. He had a beautiful instrumentation with a cello instead of a bass, kind of, and a drummer and a keyboard, and then his voice is from the heavens. Yeah. And that's a problem here a little bit, I think, because that 715 series that you're doing, what a great opportunity to see some independent artists, some lower hanging fruit for a really reasonable cost, that you can go up to them and talk to them afterwards and find out about them, who they are and why they're playing music and how they came to be here. Their drummer joined them last minute because his normal drummer had a sub and he was from Green Bay, and the guy was just shredding back there. So the talent is not the question. It's more about, for me in Minneapolis, I don't know, I might have a hot take about that it's more also about perceived safety.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
We went to a show at First Ave back in October, and then walked to, I think the bar is Gluck's.
Yeah.
Which is like a block or two up. Gluck's. And they had a band called Twine playing, which is a Minneapolis band that seriously melted my face. They did a Ghostbusters cover. It was Halloween weekend.
That's awesome.
And they were jamming, and I was right up front, and I heard their tease for Ghostbusters coming, and I was like looking at the lead singer, and we had eye contact.
Do it.
Yeah, and it was just this moment. But then Tracy and I walked to our hotel afterwards and got a little scared on the way back. There was a little bit of an issue, and there was nobody else around. It was like dead in the streets. So is that because more people aren't out doing that, or is it because there's a perception of like, I can't do that anymore without being unsafe?
And, that's the thing about Eau Claire, and that's, we talk a lot about that here, especially if you live between here and the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. I want to put like a big billboard up that says like, go east. You can go to downtown Minneapolis and see Broadway, or you can go to downtown Eau Claire and see Broadway. Our tickets are about half the price. Valet parking is $12. A hotel room at the Lismore, which is spectacular, or over at the Oxbow, what is that, $200 a night maybe? If you choose to stay overnight, you can still be home and in bed an hour later. And because I program the rooms now, our shows start at 7 because Mama likes to be home and in bed.
We got to talk about that.
I know, but this is such a new way to look at taking in live music. And Nick, I want to go back to 715 because this was really a passion project that came out of you and I having an ice cream cone one day. And you just kept saying to me, Kath, you have no idea what goes on in this city and how do we get that in the Pablo Center? because you're very passionate about that type of music as well.
Yeah, the singer-songwriters, the regional acts that I've seen play in Minneapolis or Milwaukee or Chicago, I kept on bugging, hey, look at this person. Let's look at this person. And bring them to town. And Michael's right. They embrace the community here. I remember after the Mae Simpson show, she came to the Mousetrap with us and had a few beers and was listening to some guy on the fiddle just strumming away. She goes, you guys have something here that Minneapolis needs to come over and check out.
Yeah, it was interesting. You and I met one day, and I don't even think we were meeting to talk about music. I think we were talking about something else. And I don't do coffee because I don't like coffee, so I don't have coffee meetings. I have ice cream meetings over at Olson's. And so we met for an ice cream cone, and we were talking about what to do different at Pablo. And, I talk to people who love to go out and do things, and like, how do I get you to get off the couch on a Tuesday night? And we are going over that. And, we are fortunate enough that actually Prevail Bank, who's your employer, stepped up to sponsor the series, which was incredible because then it gave us a little bit more flexibility to take a little risk on it, right? So we were able to say, let's go do it. And it was funny because I want you to tell the story about how you discovered Mae Simpson.
So I was up in the cities, and a childhood friend of mine is the director of operations at Dakota Jazz Club.
Which is like legendary.
Oh my gosh! I'm going up there a few weeks for another show for Black Violin, actually, who you guys had here.
Yes,
a
which
month
was
or so ago. Oh my gosh, they were awesome.
Incredible, and there's like 200 people in the audience.
Yeah, sidebar. But
yeah.
So I'm meeting. I go up. I'm going to meet him for a beer. I'm going to Pert near Sandstone, who's the curator of the Blue Ox Festival we have here in town. They're doing an album release. I'm like, sweet. I'm going to check that out with some friends. And I meet Joe for a beer, and the bartender just set my beer down. Joe goes, who's the opener? I said, some gal named Mae Simpson. Never heard of her. He goes, finish your beer and get over there. And I'm like, what? So typical Wisconsin fashion, I downed my beer, and I got over there. And her energy and her voice is off the charts. She is an amazing artist. I've seen her probably 13, 14 times here. And the fact that we were able, through the bank I work for that believes in the community, to bring her to town was amazing.
Yeah, it was one of those things, too. I reached out to our agent, and he's like, well, this is her price. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's way outside of it. I said, does she do anything like unplugged or acoustic? And he goes, funny, she's just going to start doing that. And so it worked. We were able to bring her in. And I remember I was so tired that night, and I just wanted to go home. But it was like Nick's night, right? So I stayed, and I just remember thinking, she is so incredibly talented. And the band she had behind her, awesome. And, tickets are $15. $15. My favorite part of that show is, I didn't really research Mae. I just trusted your gut because I think you've said book Mae Simpson 100. I just get texts in the middle of the night, book Mae Simpson.
Enough already.
I know. I was like, fine, I'll book her. But I didn't realize that she is like a hardcore rocker, right? So she's doing this she got like a little bongo she's playing, and she's covering, the song is beautiful and her voice is spectacular. And all of a sudden she goes, I usually crowd surf right now, so I'm not really sure what to do. And I was like, did she say crowd surf?
Oh, yeah,
so I pulled up the video, and I was like, oh, she does. And it was funny because there's one song, Everybody Must Jump. So she kind of looked up in the audience, and she just kind of flipped her hands up like, jump, jump. And the whole crowd was like, deet, deet, because they knew they were supposed to be jumping, but it wasn't appropriate. But the 715 series really is, so it's 7 shows for $15 each. It's a series. You can buy a day of show, or you can buy one-off for $20, and that's all in, all your fees, everything. And it's down in our brand new Robert Mann's Green Room, which is right at our Gibson Street entrance, where you come in. If you have ever valeted with us, you come in there. And that room was originally designed to be a visitor center for Visit Eau Claire, but COVID changed everything. And so this summer, our production team flipped that room to a very small, almost listening room. And talk about knocking it out of the park with about $4 and some fabric. They created an incredible room to listen to music in. And at capacity, it's 100 seats. It's probably 20 too many, but it's perfect. And its show started 7:15. You can still be home and in bed to watch the news at 10. Unless you end up going out with the band for a beer afterwards, which I think most of the audience does. But man, what a cool little curated series that, we can't wait to continue. But like you said, there's maybe 25, 30 people here to see Ben, and he was so talented. So, getting people, figuring out how to tell them to come is one thing, right? How do you market to that person? And I mean, we're thinking like, do we go back to like stapling up posters around town? Like, do we go old school on that? But also just getting people to say, yeah, you know what, my daughter bailed, but I'm still going. 100%.
Yeah, and that is the hard part, isn't it? People need to commit to wanting to do that, but once they do, I think that first time I've talked to you before about like my Pablo experience, was a concept. This was a highly contested venue, right? So people still have opinions about it, but when you come here and you realize like international superstars say, wow, this is a great room as they're playing, that really says something about the venue and how it's built. And I think people need to have that independent opportunity for themselves where they can go in and say, wow, that changed me in some way, shape, or form, and I want to go back and do that again. Because in Eau Claire, I worked for Visit Eau Claire for many years, and we always talked about our culture here. And cheap is a negative word, right?
Oh, I'm cheap.
Well, listen, if you're from around here, I prefer to say you're value conscious.
Oh, I'm value conscious.
Yeah, you are not cheap.
Look at
You're
me.
value conscious. So you're cognizant of what you're spending. And going out on a Tuesday and spending $20 might be more than you typically do. But when you get that level of an experience, that venue, 3 different kinds of chairs in there, right? So it's like, it's not fancy, but the sound is great. And then you can have a meaningful conversation with somebody who is touring as a musician for a living. What does that mean? How do you do that?
And you're literally sitting 6 feet.
Yeah.
Like you probably got spit on. Like you're right there in the room with them. And that's something that isn't even, you can't buy that experience anywhere else. And I think I was reading something the other day that people aren't spending less on concerts, but they can only afford to go to 2 because Bruce Springsteen wants $321 for the nosebleed. I hope you're listening, Bruce, because I'm really mad about it, just so we're clear. Because then I got to drive there. I probably have to get a hotel or I'm going to be miserably tired the next day, right? Like the whole thing. So when I frame going to see a show in my mind, it's always like it's $500,
Sure.
And I don't have that kind of spot cash that I want to just drop on something like that. But you know what? It's $20 here. And I'm probably spending $20 at Culver's for a value meal on my way home because I didn't feel like cooking.
You're spending more than $20 to park.
And everyone's obviously familiar with Justin Vernon, Bon Iver, and
Of course.
great artist and made a huge impact. But let's talk about Trevor Hagen, Joe Westerland, Shane Leonard, Quiet Takes, Lanu, Hema. I mean, we could go on, but the music that maybe everyone around the world has not heard about that's come out of Eau Claire.
And is still playing in Eau Claire. Like Lanu is going to be part of our 715 series in May, I think they're playing. And what was the other one you just said? Hema. She played in December, I think.
Yep.
So those, like you said, you're sitting at Leona's Pizzeria. P.S. If you have not discovered Leona's
yet, you are missing out.
Music aside,
far, but
pizza's legit. And I'm a snob on pizza, but pizza's legit. But there were 8 Grammys.
That
8
super
Grammys.
group you referenced with the Last Rebel guitar player, I don't know his name, was the drummer from Hema or the drummer from
Shane Leonard, yeah.
And then the guy from them Cooley Boys, and then they had a young guy, up and comer, playing in the background. That show at Leona's unbelievable super group.
Yeah, and it's a testament to what we have here. Soren Staff, who's the lead singer for them Cooley Boys, has been playing Tuesday nights at open mic for months. He's doing a residency over at Leona's, and Friday night, his first one he played with Ben Lester, who I'm a sucker for steel guitar. Ben kills it. But this Friday, it's Soren, and what is he doing? He's bringing friends that he met at open mic to play that probably wouldn't get on a stage anywhere, but he wants that community musicians he's connected with to be showcased, and I'm excited about that.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff you see in L.A. at, what's the bar, Whiskey? What's the LA club that everybody plays? Rock of Ages is based on?
know.
Oh, for God's sakes. Whiskey A Go-Go.
Okay.
Like where you're sitting in the audience and like, Axl Rose shows up to sing with Carrie Underwood and they cover Paradise City, which you didn't get any chance to pick on me about always leaving before the encore.
Yes.
But, again, I think half the time you don't even know who you're sitting with in the room, which is so cool. And so I think for us as we wrap this up, because Scott's like, you guys could talk for 3 days, and we know that. Get out, right?
Yes, get out. And praise, we didn't talk about it, but that secret underground of people that you don't know are doing all this work behind the scenes because they care and they want it, for themselves, but for others as well. Just praise that that's happening. And they don't need or want any credit necessarily, but boy, they're doing a ton of work, and it's gotten us to this point. That's a topic in and of itself.
Right.
The underground, the unheralded heroes.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give a couple quick shout-outs. Taylor and Brian did an amazing job with the man's space down there, and credit to you. I know this is a live music show, but I've been here for Pat Murphy. Whitney Cummings is coming to town. I took my daughter to Stomp a couple of weeks ago. The talent that you bring in, not just in the live music genre, just the last couple of years, the Pablo Center shows have been impactful. I just bought tickets to Frozen. Like it's
times
I
they are changing.
I'm fortunate to be able to do that, but I'm excited to see more of that come back to the Pablo Center.
Thanks. We've worked really, really hard in the last year and a half we keep going back to the word cultivate. And what most people don't know is I love to grow flowers in a garden. That's how I keep my sanity. But we have cultivated what we hope to be a little something for everyone, and also a trust. That, if you're going to come to you've never maybe heard of a Lanu, but if you show up to a 715 show, it's going to be good. End of story. And it's going to cost you $15, and it's going to be good. And, I was just telling someone the other day, they're like, yeah, we kind of want to come to Stomp, but, it's a Wednesday night. I'm like, yeah, it starts at 6:30. You're going to be fine. And they walked out, and she just looked at me. She goes, I just saw a Broadway show on a Wednesday night in Eau Claire. I said, you did. Please come to the next one. Clue is going to be awesome in May. But thank you. We're doing our best to highlight, we have 3 sizes of rooms here. So, we've got the green room, we've got the Jamf Theater, which seats 384, and we've got the RCU Theater that seats 1215. So we've got room for everybody here. And what we love most is that man's green room artist that all of a sudden is playing Jamf, that all of a sudden is headlining in RCU. And that's what we're trying to do here, but getting those people to talk about their experiences and coming out and cheering on these artists when they get going is so important. And I love that about both of you, because you are both huge cheerleaders for live music and for getting off the couch and taking advantage of these things that do show up. I mean, I keep saying Tuesday night. We've got shows on the weekends here, folks. Like, I promise you that. But I love that about both of you. And thanks for just reminding everybody that live music is powerful. So,
amen.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Kathy.